The new Premier League campaign kicks off on Friday night, and one of the most important things for me this season is that at least one promoted team stays up. Can Sunderland, Burnley or Leeds United avoid relegation? Well, yes, all three could. But will Sunderland, Burnley or Leeds United avoid relegation? I don't know, but I hope so. It's really, really important for me that come the end of the season, at least one of them have avoided relegation, because if not, I think the Premier League is in trouble. I think it could potentially already be in trouble, but I don't think it's at the point of no return. But if all those three teams get relegated this season, I think the discussion next summer will be even more serious. The consequences for the Premier League, but also the Championship as well, could be greater. And I don't like it. I think it's really, really important that one of them stay up. Who? It doesn't matter. We all have our preferences and favourites out of those three teams. Oh, I'd like them to stay up, or I'd like them to go back down, or this established Premier League team, I hope they go down. We've all got them, myself included. But for this conversation, it's irrelevant. It doesn't really matter which team I want to see stay up or go down. It doesn't matter. What is important to me is that one of those 17 teams that were playing Premier League football last season, in 12 months' time, are facing a Championship campaign. Their season will already be underway because they're playing Championship football. That's important to me, and that's what I want to discuss with you today. Bit of a different topic, and I appreciate, by the way, if one of those three stay up, it means one of those 17 have gone down. I'm well aware a lot of people will be fancying my team, West Ham, to be one of those three. It's irrelevant. This is a discussion around the Premier League. I'm aware it may spell danger for West Ham United, but I think it's important for the Premier League that at least one of those teams stay up. Anyway, I will explain why, and hopefully it makes a little bit of sense. But if you're new to Tartan Geo, please do stick around by hitting that subscribe button. Got some different content coming up this week. I'm launching a podcast. Tomorrow I'm recording it with my first guest. I'm really looking forward to it. It's something a bit different, but it's something I've had in the pipeline all summer, and I will be doing it all season. Maybe a fortnightly thing or something, just to not put pressure on myself for getting guests on, but hopefully enjoy it. So if you fancy it, please do stick around by subscribing. And also do drop a like on the video as well by clicking thumbs up. So massive thank you for all the support so far. It's much appreciated. I'm enjoying doing this content. I've been looking forward to doing this video and having this discussion. Hopefully I do a good enough job of describing why I'm worried. Now, the first point is obvious. The last two seasons, the three promoted teams have gone straight back down to the Championship. So 6 out of 6. That's not good. That's not healthy. We need the Premier League to be competitive. We need the Championship teams, when they get promoted, to have hope. Because what's football without hope? And I include that for everyone, for the fans, for the players, for the staff involved with those teams. They need to be able to go into a new season with some form of hope. Otherwise, what's the point? If you can't dream, what's the point? Football, for fans, should be an escape from real life, in my opinion. So we play Sunderland at the weekend. We should be able to dream that we're going to, well, dreaming winning at Sunderland, maybe not the dream here, but Sunderland fans should be able to dream about remaining in the Premier League and what could happen in future because of the ambition they're showing this summer. So when a team gets promoted in May, they should dream about coming up to the Premier League, staying in the Premier League, remaining in the Premier League, becoming established in the Premier League. At the moment, I'm not sure that dream exists. I think it does, going by the vibe I'm getting from Leeds fans and Sunderland fans especially. But there's 2 years of evidence to suggest it's probably not going to work out for you. And I'm worried that there's going to be a third year and a fourth year. And if that happens, the competitiveness between the Championship and Premier League will be non-existent. And it's not just the fact that the last three promoted teams went straight back down. It's the statistics behind it as well. I've got some facts for you. So it's going to get a bit boring, and then I'm going to switch it up. I've got something new. Graphics coming. Stick with me. Last season, the three teams that went down with, they accumulated between the three of them, Southampton, Leicester and Ipswich Town, they got 59 points. They set a record. That's the record, the lowest points tally between three relegated teams from the Premier League since the Premier League began in 1990. Well, since it switched to the current format. That's not good. But do you know the record they broke? They broke the record, which was 66 points. Do you know when that was? Correct. The season before. So the last 2 seasons, so 2 seasons ago when Luton, Sheffield United and Burnley went down, they got 66 points between them. And last season, those 3 teams beat the record that was set 12 months ago. That's a massive warning. It's not just they're coming up and going back down. It's they're going back down without even laying a glove on the 17. And I say the 17 for that reason. This summer, Aston Villa fans and Newcastle United fans in particular are frustrated due to PSR. And I completely understand it is very, very valid. They are struggling to compete in the transfer market with the big 6 in the Premier League because of PSR. And that argument, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. It does. I am pro argument. I agree with Newcastle United fans and Aston Villa fans. But I need to bring it in here for balance, for fairness and for context. Because we're in danger, I say we, the Premier League, are in danger of doing exactly that to Championship clubs. So whilst the 11, not the big 6 and not the promoted 3, that 11 in the middle are looking up going, aye, we can't compete with them, PSR. True. But beneath that 11, there's 3 who've just come up going, oi, we can't compete with that 17, PSR. Also true. And I think that's something that's a bit of a concern. And that's why last summer the financial rules were meant to change. And it's changing to go to squad to cost ratio, and it's going to be anchored off the lowest earning club in the Premier League, etc., etc. Now that got delayed until next summer. And the reason was, because Man City's charges need cleared up before we can switch over. That may be true. But it could just be that actually the 17 are happy with the way it is, because whilst it may prevent some teams competing, there's probably a reason Crystal Palace, Brentford, Bournemouth, West Ham, Everton, when coming to vote for it, they think, well, actually, even if you took away the PSR restrictions of that, we still can't compete with those. We don't have the funds, we don't have the facilities to compete with them. Newcastle certainly would go, get rid of them, because we can then plough money in and go for them. But not every club has that backing and ability to just plough hundreds of millions into a football club and go after that big 6. So actually the PSR restrictions, while it may restrict them from challenging at the top, what it does also do, it keeps those coming up from challenging them. We've had almost the rich 6. And it's almost like we've got a middle class now, and now we've got we see the 3 coming up as like the working class. Actually, the rich ones are at the table getting their luxury meal. The 11 other Premier League clubs are there in the middle. They're getting fed, and the promoted 3 are outside looking into the window going, oh, can we have a bit? No, you're not allowed. You're not allowed in. Sorry, door's locked. You can come in for a little bit and then get back down to that Championship, and we'll let 3 other people come in place of you. Hopefully this is making sense. Now, I've got some statistics for you here. So over the last 7 seasons, 18 teams promoted, 13 have gone back down. Obviously, 8 have stayed up. So 21 teams, 13 down, 8 have stayed up. But when you look at it over the way the Premier League is currently with a number of teams and number of relegations, since the Premier League began, the survival rate's over 50%. The survival rate is going all right. But in the last 7 seasons, the 10 seasons prior to that 7, so we're now going back to 2008, 2018, the survival rate was actually 67%. 2/3 of teams coming up were staying up. But now, it's gone right back down. And this is where, looking at the last 2 seasons, 3 teams have gone down. Season before that, though, in fairness, 3 seasons ago, all 3 teams that came up stayed up. Fulham, Bournemouth, Nottingham Forest, they all stayed up. Season before that, Brentford stayed up. Watford and Norwich went back down. Season before that, Leeds stayed up under Bielsa. Fulham and West Brom went back down. And season prior to that, Sheffield United and Aston Villa stayed up, and Norwich went down. And I'm just a little bit worried that if we see this 3-3 again, we're going to find ourselves in a little bit of a pickle. Historically, teams that have come up with 95 or more points from the Championship tend to stay up. In fact, only 5 teams have come up from the Championship with 95 or more points and gone straight back down. But here's the thing. 4 of them, 5, have happened in the last 5 years. So we've got over 20 years worth of data here. 5 teams have come up and gone back down. 4 in the last 5 years. The data is changing. The numbers are changing. If you take the last 5 years, it suggests survival is very, very difficult. Prior to that, it suggests you're probably going to be all right. If you've done well in Championship, you're probably going to stay up. The numbers are just, to me, suggesting watch out. And PSR has a part to play in that. You compare Sunderland to a Premier League club. A Premier League club can lose 105 million over 3 years with PSR. Sunderland can only lose 13 million per year in Championship. And because it's a 3-year rolling period, Sunderland have got 13 million. This season they've got 35 million. That's good. But there's still a 44 million pound gap for them to make up with other Premier League clubs. They can't spend as much as that 17. And I just worry that if these 3 go down again, we're going to be in a bad situation here. And the Premier League is in danger of becoming a closed shop. I think it's really important for the Premier League's competitiveness that someone stays up. Who? Well, I want to take a look. I'm going to do something a little bit different. Now, before I do, I must apologise. I'm not apologising. I'm not saying sorry. I must explain why you're away to see West Ham graphics. It's because I've got a West Ham channel called Hammers Chat, and on there we've got graphics, and it's obviously West Ham colours. Now, I can't afford it to be in Tartan colours, so I'm just using the West Ham side of it. It'll make sense in just a second. Let me get loaded up. Right, here we go. We've got the Sunderland signings to the side of me. Now, I've not included like the loans out or signing players that were on loan last season. So you can see there they've got Diana coming in, Adringas coming in, the winger, Xhaka, Masuaku, Talbi's come in, as well as Siddiqui. So they're spending a lot of money here. Roofs, the goalkeepers, come in. Ronaldo, the left back from Atletico Madrid's come in. Then they've got Gay on loan from Chelsea, the striker, only losing 2 players. Watson, they knew they were going to lose. That was agreed ages ago. Then Bellingham going to Dortmund. Now, on the face of it, I actually quite like Sunderland's business. I'm familiar with half the players that they've signed, and I like Xhaka in particular as one of my favourite signings this summer. There's a lot of talk and hype around Diarra that's come in there into midfield with him. I think Andringa is it's a good signing. I'm on board with that signing now. Some of them I don't know. I couldn't tell you anything about Siddiqui or Roof, for example. I couldn't tell you anything about those 2. But in regards to Sunderland, they've got a very, very ambitious owner, and they're showing ambition in the window. I think their style of play will suit the Premier League. They will be pragmatic. They will sit back. They will happily let the opposition have the ball, look to break. I'm not against that. Like I said, the midfield 3 of Xhaka, Diarra and Leafy, that's a good midfield. I still think they need a striker. I do think that's what they're lacking at the minute when I take a look at this Sunderland side. I think I'm not sure who's going to be getting the goals. I feel like that's one area they could have improved on last season in the Championship. But on the face of it, I think there's some really good business by Sunderland. Will they stay up? I'm not too sure. I will do my predicted league in a couple of days' time. It is going to be difficult. And it's going to be difficult for all 3 promoted sides, not just Sunderland. But they are not coming up and just trying to get by or anything. They are throwing money at this. But when I say throwing money at it, they're not just buying everyone and anyone, which I think Nottingham Forest did a little bit 3 seasons ago, which they had to. They had 6 players. And I think that's something that doesn't get reported enough about Nottingham Forest. Everybody pointing is, hey, you spent 200 million, they got their points deduction. But I think what's missing out of that is a context, which is Nottingham Forest had about 6 players. They needed to spend a load of money. But you did get the feeling they were just bringing in, like Emmanuel Dennis, for example, Cheka Kiati, Jesse Lingard didn't work out in the end. But you understood why they signed Lingard. But like Dennis and Kiati, there was just some signings that just felt a bit almost greedy from Nottingham Forest, that there wasn't much strategy. They were just bringing in loads of good individual players without much thought process going into it. This doesn't feel like that from Sunderland. This feels well planned, well prepared, and ambitious. From the players I know, I like. Right, let's turn our attention to Leeds United. Big fan of Anton Stack. I like him. Signed from Hoffenheim, central midfielder, deep line midfielder as well. Proper old school Number 6 can take set pieces too. I'm a huge fan of that transfer. Sean Longstaff from Newcastle United. Goodmanson in from Lille, the left back to replace Farke, who's their only real player that's left. Bernau, who's the centre back from Wolfsburg. Nemecha is the striker, not that one, it's a different one. Bijol, Udinese centre back. Don't know anything about him. I could not tell you a thing about him. Same with Goodmanson. Couldn't tell you a thing about either of those, or Perrin, the goalkeeper from Lyon. But Leeds have gone big. And I don't just mean transfer fees, I mean height. They're bringing in the giants. Leeds have been bringing in signings. I think their first 5 signings were all 6'2" or something like that. So they're coming up and they're getting ready for the physicality of the Premier League. Now, Farke is very open about the lack of signings, especially in the forward areas, basically saying my attack is not ready for the Premier League. My attack's not good enough for the Premier League. It is hard to disagree with him, while sometimes you think there's maybe a bit of a hard luck story going on with him. With this, I'm not so sure. I think he's putting pressure on the 49ers to spend some more money and get those attackers in. And they've been linked to plenty. Al-Khanous of Leicester City, I've seen them linked to Calvert-Lewin today, Fulham's Muniz. So they are linked to strikers and attackers that will make a significant difference. But I think the midfield, I like what they've done in midfield. I think they've already got some good players in midfield at Leeds as well. But I think Stack in particular is a massive tick for me. I think Longstaff is one of those clever signings where it's not too much money. Is he going to be the star of the team? No. But he's the type of player that can be reliable 6 or 7 out of 10 every single week and he won't let you down. And I think when you get players in like Longstaff, what you may lose on quality or on his ceiling, he makes up for in work rate. If it doesn't work out, it's not because he hasn't given 100%. I'm 100% sure Sean Longstaff will be given 100% to Leeds United in that badge. So on the face of it, I think their transfers so far are good, but I still think there's a bit to do for Leeds. I still do think there's quite a bit to do. Right then, that's Leeds, that's Sunderland. Let's have a quick glance at Burnley. Despite being very impressive last season, Burnley, they're the ones I worry for the most. And actually, there's possibly more evidence from Burnley last season to suggest they'll do best out of the 3 promoted teams in the Premier League. So if I take Leeds, I have uncertainties over Farke as a manager. I'm not sure he will be here at Christmas, for example. I mean, the club aren't sure on him. They were debating replacing him in the summer. And I understand why, by the way. You replace players because you jump from league to league. You go, right, that player's not good enough. Let's upgrade him. So why would you not do that with the manager? You think, right, he was good enough to get us up, but we're not sure he's good enough to keep us up. So they decided to give him a chance, but I'm not so sure he will be good enough as a manager in the Premier League. You look at Sunderland and the way they got up through the playoffs, you think, well, you need a lot of work. You're not ready for the Premier League. You've got a lot of players that could be ready for the Premier League, but they've added to that. But with Burnley, how they played last season with that defence in the Championship, conceding 16 goals in 46 games, it's just insane. That is incredible. Parker had them set up that they were hard to beat, really hard to. They were hard to score against, never mind beat. But the foundation of Burnley last season was built on being hard to beat, built on structure and organisation. So in theory, when you're carrying what you had to now, Burnley are possibly the ones that you think, well, they'll be most suited. They're not trying to play pretty football. They're trying to play effective football. And sitting back in the Premier League and being hard to beat, if you can do that, brilliant. But that's my concern. I'm not sure they will be good enough to be hard to beat in the Premier League. They've lost. I think they've had the biggest hit in terms of departures. Sure, Sunderland have lost Bellingham and Leeds have lost Farke. But you look at Burnley now, you look on the screen there, Trafford, CJ, Brownhill. 2 of them they didn't even get a transfer fee for, but 3 really important players to them last season. Brownhill with a goal, CJ part of that defence, Trafford in goal. But the players they brought in are impressive. Hugo Chuck, who I'm a fan of. Broja, I'm not so sure about Broja. I've made that clear. 20 million is hefty. Dubravka, I think is a really good signing. I thought he was good at Newcastle last season when he was required when Pope was out. I think that's a good signing and a good replacement for Trafford. I don't know who Chauna is. I've no idea who he is. Kyle Walker I think is a fantastic signing. I've done a video about him specifically on this channel. Larsson's gone back there, so he was with them when they were in the Premier League last time, sold him. Now he's gone back. Then they brought in Hartman, who is a left back. Couldn't tell you a thing about him. Twinzaby alike, when fit, that's the problem. But it's a free transfer. He comes with a wealth of experience from Ipswich Town. And then Max Wise, who I think is another goalkeeper. But again, I couldn't tell you a thing about him. So a mixed bag of their transfers. As is Leeds and Sunderland. I think the difficulty for me is I don't know every single one they've signed, which is never going to happen. West Ham have signed a player I've never heard of until we signed him in El Hadji Malik Diouf. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know every single player, and therefore here is my judgment. But from the ones I do know, bar Broja, I like it. I think Hugo Chuck was a really good signer. I think Dubravka is a sensible signing. I think Walker is a bit of a gamble, but it's low risk. And what he will bring in terms of the leadership side of it could be crucial, especially considering they've lost Josh Brownhill. And I know Josh Cullen's now the captain. It wouldn't surprise me to see Kyle Walker as vice captain or third choice captain or something already at Burnley. So I think they've done some good business on the face of it, Burnley. The issue is I think they needed to do a lot of business, because when I look at that Burnley team in the summer, that when the championship came to an end, I look at Burnley, Sunderland and Leeds. If I had to pick players that West Ham would go after, Sunderland had the most, despite them being the ones that come up from the playoff. Burnley had the least. You know, Josh Brownhill, who was one of the best players in the championship at Burnley last season, is available on a free. I'm still not keen on him being at West Ham, and that's significant, I think. So Burnley are the ones I'm wanting for the most. Sunderland and Leeds I look at and think they've got a chance. They've got a chance of staying up. But regardless of how big Burnley's chances are compared to the other two, it's kind of irrelevant. My opinions on those three promoted teams is kind of irrelevant. The most important thing, I think, this season is that at least one of those three stay up. Because if not, those statistics, which are not great, are only going to be even worse in 12 months' time. A lot of people complain about the big six in the Premier League, about them being protected with PSR. That's valid. That argument is valid. And the argument is why is PSR in place? Is it, they say it's to protect clubs. It's not though, is it? It's to protect or to deter competition. So the big six are trying to keep the 11 away. But actually we have to be fair here and flip it around and say, well, actually, is the 17 trying to keep the 3 away? And I think the answer right now today is yes. And that's why I think it's really important. One of those 3 teams stay up. Who? It doesn't matter. I just hope my team isn't the one that ends up going down as a result of it. But for the Premier League, I think it's really important that Leeds, Sunderland or Burnley are in the Premier League conversations that we have next summer. Anyway, that's it for me. Hopefully this video makes sense. Hopefully I've made my point and not bored you to death. But if you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. Drop a like on it by clicking thumbs up button. I'll catch up with you tomorrow with my first podcast. I'll see you then.